Welcome to the deep dive. Today we've got a really fascinating piece of source material in front of us. It's an excerpt from a very rich and candid conversation with the novelist Amy Koppelman.
Yeah, and it's not just about, like, the nuts and bolts of writing. It really gets into the deep, raw honesty she puts into her work and, her whole take on life.
Absolutely. And it's pretty remarkable, actually, because she doesn't hold back on her personal journey, particularly her experiences with some pretty significant emotional and, mental health challenges.
Right. It gives you this really compelling look at where creativity and vulnerability sort of meet.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is to take that conversation, unpack it, and really distill it down.
Yeah, we want to pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising bits, those memorable details.
And present them to you, the listener, almost like a shortcut to understanding these, pretty complex topics, but through Amy Koppelman's specific perspective.
Okay, let's get into it then.
So, Amy Koppelman. She's a novelist known for tackling some really heavy themes. Deep, dark, emotional subjects.
Things that, let's be honest, a lot of us feel, but maybe don't talk about so much.
Right. And central to how she approaches this, she says, is her focus on what she calls clean writing.
Clean writing, okay.
Yeah, it's about using as few words as possible, paring things right down.
She makes a joke about it first, doesn't she? Like, maybe it's just insecurity.
She does, like wanting to be small, get off stage quick.
Ah, yeah.
But then she clarifies, no, it's really more an aesthetic thing for her. She genuinely likes writers who are spare with language.
She mentions Philip Roth, I think.
Yeah, saying even in his big novels, he's incredibly efficient. Like, never a word that's not needed.
And she sees real power in that economy.
Yeah.
Especially in what's not being said.
Oh, that immediately makes you think of that classic, the super short story.
The 6-word one. Baby shoes for sale, never worn.
Exactly. Whether Hemingway actually wrote it or not, it's the perfect example.
Totally. Because the power isn't just in the words themselves.
No, it's everything you bring to it. That instant emotional gut punch, and then your mind just races.
You create the backstory. Maybe tragedy, maybe something else entirely. Lots of possibilities.
And that sparsity, it kind of forces the reader to get involved, to fill in those blanks. Makes it more personal somehow.
Yeah, she definitely sees that as a strength, not like a lack of detail.
Okay, so shifting from the style to her actual writing process, it sounds, less like building block by block and more like wandering around.
Yeah, especially for a book like Hesitation Wounds, which she calls a memory book.
And memory isn't linear, is it? It just sort of flashes. You don't build up to remembering something.
No, you just know the whole flash, the whole story of it, because you've lived it, internalized it.
So her method involves writing a lot. She mentions like hundreds of thousands of words.
Wow. Without a clear path forward initially.
Seems like it. Just exploring. And then somewhere in all that material, she'll stumble onto a scene.
Like a key moment.
Exactly. A scene that suddenly makes everything click. Like, okay, this is it. This is what the book is actually about.
Should you give an example?
Yeah. For Hesitation Wounds, she talks about the very last scene. It's the main character, Susa, taking her adopted daughter to her brother's grave. It's his birthday. Snow's starting to fall.
Oh, wow.
And the little girl just asks her mom, innocently, to stick out her tongue and catch the snowflakes.
And that scene crystallized it all for her.
Yeah. She said that moment captured the core theme, that challenge of staying invested in life, of letting yourself see beauty, even when it's right next to immense sadness.
So finding that core lets her look back at everything else she wrote.
Pretty much, like reverse engineering it, seeing what connects, what serves that central idea she just discovered.
That feels really human, actually, how we make sense of our own lives,
Yeah.
Skipping around, connecting dots later.
Yeah, it really embraces that messy reality of memory and understanding.
Okay, so another thing she talks about, something she seems really keen on, is using prompts, writing prompts.
Yes. She thinks they're super important for writers.
Why is that? What they do?
She says they give you that slightest little sort of like head start.
Why?
Compares it to someone just cracking open a door for you, making it a tiny bit easier to start writing.
Simple things.
Yeah, like the last thing I remember is, or in my bag there is, yesterday he, just little nudges.
She mentions her daughter giving her a prompt book too, right? About her own life.
She does. A really sweet example. Said it helped her share these little bits of herself day by day, which might have felt harder otherwise.
So it breaks down that barrier, the blank page staring back at you.
Exactly. And this ties into why she loves teaching writing, especially continuing education classes.
Oh, interesting. Why continuing ed specifically?
She feels like some of the best writers she ever met were in those classes because they were writing from a place that was just so raw and truthful.
Not necessarily aiming for the bestseller list or...
Right. Not gaming the market, as she puts it. They just had this real need to get something out, to sort of poach it onto the page.
And she has this idea, assume no one will ever read your fiction.
Yeah, she suggests that. Says it can be incredibly freeing, allows for way more honesty, more purity in the story itself.
Which makes total sense, considering the kind of stuff she writes about.
Definitely. Deeply vulnerable things, often dark, tackling emotions we feel but maybe don't articulate.
And exploring that kind of vulnerability, well, it leads people to make assumptions about her.
Oh, yeah. She has some funny stories about that. Like after her book dealing with postpartum depression and infanticide, she jokes, playdates really slow down.
I can imagine.
And after another one about affairs and drugs, she quips she almost never goes out.
So people kind of project the book onto her.
Totally. And when they ask about her research, sometimes she messes with them. Says something like, oh, I just, F a million guys.
Just to highlight how weird that conflation is. People want it to be true, but also not really true if it makes them uncomfortable.
Exactly. She says hesitation wounds, the one about survival and guilt, that one feels closest to her, has the most of her in it.
And that book delves into the NYC graffiti scene from the 70s and 80s, right?
Yeah, she was really fascinated by it. How the graffiti artists, they called themselves writers, used the subway trains.
Like moving canvases.
Yeah, to have conversations with each other, with the whole city, a kind of underground network.
That's cool. Did she talk to people from that era?
She mentions meeting a writer named Dave, and she includes a really poignant detail in the book about Michael Stewart.
Michael Stewart?
Yeah.
He was a real person.
Yeah, a graffiti tagger. He died in police custody in 1983, a victim of police brutality.
Wow. That's heavy.
It is. And she notes how upsetting it is to realize that some things, like police brutality, just don't change over time, even decades later.
And just to be clear for our listeners, she includes this as part of the historical context she was exploring for the book, right? Not necessarily pushing a specific agenda, but reflecting what was in the source material.
Exactly. It's presented as part of that world, a powerful and sadly enduring theme she encountered in her research.
Okay, so moving from the world in her books to her own inner world, she's incredibly open about depression and anxiety.
Remarkably so. She talks about it starting subtly when she was young, feeling kind of blurry, gauzy.
But it got worse later.
Yeah, significantly more severe, especially after she stopped being bulimic. She realized the bulimia, even though it was destructive, had been functioning as a sort of escape valve for feelings.
Wow. It's a tough realization.
And she's very, very clear. Therapy combined with medication. That's what truly saved her life, made her current life possible.
She credits both working together.
Strongly. And she also sees writing itself as, well, she calls it a modern-day toilet bowl, a place to throw up those really intense, difficult feelings into a book instead of into harmful behaviors.
So writing is a safe release.
Yeah, free writing especially. A place for secrets with no penalty.
She also talks about the shame around depression, doesn't she? That internal battle.
Oh, absolutely. That constant voice telling her she should be stronger, that it's some kind of personal failing, a weakness.
And that awful comparison game. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just a first world problem. Dismissing internal pain compared to external crises.
Right. But she argues so powerfully that internal suffering is just as real and just as devastating, and often it's physiological. It's your body, your brain chemistry.
Which leads her to really advocate for medication when it comes to clinical depression.
Very strongly. She pushes back hard against that old romantic idea that artists need to suffer.
The tortured artist trope.
Yeah, she uses Van Gogh as an example, suggesting maybe he could have created even more beautiful work if he'd had effective help.
Her view on medication isn't that it makes you numb then.
No, not at all. She says when you're in that free-fall state of severe depression, medication puts a trampoline underneath it.
A trampoline.
It catches you. It provides that basic stability, that bit of space you need to actually start healing, to use other tools to gain perspective.
That's a really powerful metaphor.
Isn't it? And she compares depression to something like diabetes or asthma.
Meaning?
Meaning sometimes medication is just physiologically necessary. It's not a moral failing. It doesn't make you weaker to need it.
She tells a story about a friend, right?
Yeah.
Deep in depression.
Yeah, a really intense one. Saying to her friend, basically, look, the way you are right now, this isn't living. You're dead while you're alive. Comparing the need for intervention to rushing someone having a diabetic attack to the hospital.
It really underscores the seriousness and the biological component she sees.
Absolutely. And that for true clinical depression, things like therapy and mindfulness are vital. But often they need that foundation of medication to even work effectively. No shame in that.
It's so interesting, then, to think about how her relationship with writing shifted from that very private therapeutic thing
to actually seeing herself as a writer, as a vocation. She talks about feeling like she had the gall to even think that.
That leap often involves seeking some kind of external nod, doesn't it? Validation.
For her, yeah. Applying to writing school was part of that.
And getting rejected sometimes.
Yep. Which she notes, pretty wisely, is actually important. Builds tolerance for rejection, something every writer absolutely needs.
There's always that tension, though. That internal drive, the thing you have to do.
Versus needing some external permission slip,
Yeah.
you know? Someone to say, okay, yes, you are allowed to call yourself this.
She shares that amazing anecdote about struggling to actually say, I'm a writer, even after publishing books and having a film made.
It's incredible. At Customs, going to the Toronto Film Festival for her film adaptation, she couldn't say it. Said, I'm a mom instead.
And then again at a party later.
Same thing. Defaults to, I'm a mom.
She describes it as feeling fraudulent. Wonders if it's linked to preferring shorter books.
Right. Even though she thinks most books should be shorter than the industry often demands. Like that pressure to hit 80,000 words when her story felt done at 40,000.
It just perfectly captures that internal conflict, the art versus the external markers, or maybe just deep-seated insecurity.
Yeah. Okay, so let's bring it to the end. Her perspective on living a good life.
What does she say?
She calls her own answer corny, but it sounds pretty profound to me.
Which is?
Basically, love the people you love as much as you possibly can, tune out the stupid things, realize every moment is precious, and just love purely, all-encompassingly.
Simple, but not easy.
Not at all. And she gives this really specific, touching image.
Yeah.
Watching The Godfather with her family during a snowstorm, just sitting there together, and having this feeling wash over her. Damn, this is a great life.
Wow. Not some huge achievement, just connection. Presence.
Exactly. That moment seems to perfectly encapsulate her definition, finding that deep joy in simple, shared connection.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've really covered a lot. Her ideas on clean, honest writing.
That non-linear, discovery-based process.
The surprising power of prompts and writing communities.
The incredible courage needed for vulnerability, both in art and life.
The crucial message about seeking help for mental health without any shame.
And finally, that simple, profound importance of love and connection in what makes a life feel good.
And these takeaways, they aren't just for writers, are they? They speak to anyone listening, to you.
Definitely. They offer a way to think about creativity in general, about facing our own internal stuff, finding connection.
Understanding shared human experiences, whether through a book or a conversation or even, graffiti on a train from decades ago.
And maybe the final thought to leave you with, something Amy Koppelman herself seems to wrestle with.
Go on.
It's that contrast between feeling internally maybe fraudulent or like her own struggles aren't bad enough.
Versus the external reality of her creating really impactful work and speaking out with such honesty on vital issues.
Yeah. What does that gap tell us about how we sometimes judge our own validity or maybe minimize the real weight of our own internal lives?
That's definitely something worth thinking about.